Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Whether it is your first time or your 100th time, we are so very glad to have you with us today. My name is Heather. My pronouns are both she and they. We would like to take this opportunity to ask you to please silence any electronic devices you may have with you. If you would like to receive communication about us, we have these cards that are out on the credenza to the left. You can fill them out and you can return them to any greeters. You can also leave them on the credenza, or you can place them in the offering basket when it is passed around a little bit later in the service. We don't have a written order of service, but you can have a small little booklet that has information about us, as well as the paper slip to fill out for any joys or sorrows that you may wish to share with us. You can also put the joys and sorrows form into the offering basket when it is passed around. And we have a couple of announcements. Today, there is a demonstration for women's rights at 6 o'clock at Plaza Ferdinand in Pensacola. Please come. We have another announcement, the goodbye party. We have some goodbyes to say. There is a guest book to sign in the lobby to write a farewell note to the Donnellys. Also in the lobby are cards to sign for Reverend Alice. Next week, July 10th, is her last Sunday with us. We will hold a thank you reception for her after the service next week. And then one more announcement, paper goods collection. In July and August, the social justice team will be collecting paper towels and toilet paper for youth transitioning out of homelessness. We are also looking for new or gently used standing shelves to help organize items for the youth. To donate, please drop paper products in the basket in the lobby during July and August. If you have shelves, contact Lauren and Zaldo to arrange delivery. These items will benefit the youth in the street outreach program and Empower House of Children's Home Society, who we collected coats and blankets for this past winter. I think that is all the announcements that I am aware of. And now we are going to have some centering music. Our chalice lighting words are by Albert Schweitzer. In everyone's life, at some time, our inner fire goes out. It is then burst into flame by an encounter with another human being. We should all be thankful for those people who rekindle that inner spirit. And then our opening words are from Jim Morrison. A friend is someone who gives you total freedom to be yourself. And now, please rise if you are willing and able to sing our opening hymn. It is Enter, Rejoice, and Come In, number 361.
Yeah, if you tip your chair, the hymn will fall right out.
Rejoice and come in. Enter, rejoice and come in. Today will be a joyful day. rejoice and come in. Enter, rejoice and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice and come in.
Remain standing for the covenant.
Yes. And now, please remain standing so that we can recite the covenant together. Love
Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help
one another. You may now be seated as Nancy will bring us through Time for All Ages.
Today, most of our ages are on the more mature side of the spectrum. So all the ages will be included today. However, our young ones will have to hear it from afar through our voices as we pass it on. And I just would like you to think about the people who have come in your life, the people that have passed through your life. And the questions that I would have asked the children was, have you ever had friends that you met at school and maybe they moved away or they were in a different classroom the next year? And the difference that you felt when you realized that that person's relationship would change. Somehow there would be a shift. There would be a natural order to making that shift. And what would that be like for you? So I ask you just to pause for a minute and think about someone who's been in your life, someone who's alive or perhaps passed on, doesn't matter, could have been a childhood. And what was that parting or separation like? How did you manage it and what did you do? And I'd like for you to think about what spark they lit inside of you. And how has that spark taken hold of you now? And then I'd like for you to return to this space, since all of you have left into your memories, and come back and just enjoy what that feels like about that spark that you hold that is still alive. And now we will have our morning offering, and Heather will introduce that.
So, as we often speak, when we talk about what we do here, we like to emphasize the 3 T's, which I know I talk about every time I stand up here. But if this is your first time and you're curious, what are the 3 T's? Well, it's time, treasure, and talent. For some people, they are short on time, and treasure is one of the ways that they can still support organizations and causes and things that are very near and dear to their hearts. So at this time, if you have any treasure that you would so gratefully donate to us, then we would be equally as grateful to accept it. This is also the time if you have any joys and sorrows or these little information cards, you can put them into the offering basket as well.
Don't you love it? We just improvise when life goes on. And here is our joy and our sorrow of the day, which I'm sure there are many more. But we're going to light a candle. Reverend Alice couldn't be with us today because she has COVID. And she's recovering and hopefully will be here next week with us for her last day. We also have Dolly Berthelot, who is in the hospital again, and she would like your thoughts and prayers. I'm sure that cards or some sort of greeting to her. Her phone, she continues to identify as her lifeline. So I'm sure that some sort of connection through her phone would be great. And Penny wants to light a candle for Barbara Goggins, whose presence will always be with us in this congregation and community. And at a time like this, Barbara would have been here. She would have been with Michael in the kitchen. Michael, do this. Michael, do that. Michael, do this. Michael, do that. And Michael very obediently would say, yes, yes, yes. And so we're glad to have her presence with us at this time. And we will light one more candle for those things that are on our hearts and unsaid out loud, but are important to each of us. Reverend Alice was giving this service today, and as you know, she's not here. So, default, you have me. Thank you. Unfortunately, we have Heather as the service leader. But I would like to say that this celebration has come together from many, many angles, and many people have contributed, starting last week with setting up the tables. And as you know, excuse me, there's a Sunday service committee that designs the services, and Mary Lee always wants a picnic. So in the summer, we have to have a picnic, and Mary Lee's in charge of Sunday services, so of course we're having a picnic. However, she wasn't here last week to set it up. She wasn't here during the week to do any of the work, and she's leaving. So, consequently, she's getting her picnic with everybody else doing the work. Isn't that great? Okay. The 4th of July is often celebrated with fireworks, parades, barbecues, carnivals, fairs, picnics, concerts, baseball games, family reunions, political speeches, and ceremonies. But perhaps the most significant part is the coming together, the joining of people, the families, the friends, and the acquaintances that we've made. Independence Day is a federal holiday in the United States, commemorating the Declaration of Independence. It was ratified by the Second Continental Congress on July 4th, 1776. The Second Continental Congress declared the 13 colonies were no longer subject or subordinate to the monarch of Britain, King George III, and were now united, free, and independent states. The Congress voted to approve independence actually on July 2nd, but it was adopted, the Declaration of Independence, 2 days later, July 4th. Perhaps everything wasn't as we would have liked for it to be. Perhaps not freedom for everyone, as we know. But if that hadn't happened, I wonder where we would be now. And everything in my mind has a spark or a start or a beginning. So did you know? Here's a fun fact. By a remarkable coincidence, Thomas Jefferson and John Adams, the only two signatories on the Declaration of Independence, later to serve as presidents of the United States, both died on the same day, July 4th, 1826, which was the 50th anniversary of the Declaration. And Jefferson even mentioned the fact. Now, I don't know if he mentioned it on the day he died or afterwards, but that's what is the rumor. Although not a signatory of the Declaration of Independence, James Monroe, another founding father, who was elected the president, also died on July the 4th, 1831, making him the third president who died on the anniversary of the independence. The only U.S. president to have been born on Independence Day was Calvin Coolidge, who was born on July 4th, 1872. When I lived in a small suburb in Chicago, there was a 4th of July celebration in our area. This community promoted July 4th with a parade. The idea of the parade was my idea of a parade was standing on the sidelines, watching huge floats, elegantly dressed people that had gained some sort of notoriety with awards or contests, usually I didn't know who they were, perched on the back of an expensive convertible car, waving as the cars were slowly creeping along. Since it was my first year living here, with my two daughters, who were about 3 and 6 years old, my husband and I took our two daughters to meet at the specified location where the parade would begin. We were invited to join the parade. I wasn't quite sure what that meant, but we went. To my surprise, there were hundreds of people, dogs, animals, wagons being pulled that were full of kids, stuffed animals, toys, strollers, bicycles, all decorated in red, white, and blue of everything. Hats, ribbons, shirts, pants, flags, whistles, bells, noisemakers, you name it, it was there. Everyone began to walk, so we joined them. And we started walking on the streets. We were all walking in the parade. We were the parade. No floats, no cars, no people with awards or party dresses, just people. I don't remember much more about that day, where we went, where we ended up, what we ate, who we talked to, but it was carved in my memory, in my mind, that it was just the people. Perhaps there's a connection to the Declaration of Independence. We, the people. When consulting the Unitarian Universalist Organization website, there's a focus on the realization that the July 4th Declaration didn't free everyone, and there is still a need for change. Our challenge may be to continue to look for ways to expand freedom, freedom to liberate others. We are the people. Thankfully, we do have the freedom to have a UU church, the privilege of having one right here in our area. Today, we celebrate with people at our indoor picnic to join together and the ability to have one another. The independence to be who we are and where we need to be able to share our faith with one another. The young to develop independence over time. Our church to continue to search for ways to help empower others. Along with this privilege is the ability to move about this country and have a sense of independence. And now I would like to do a Did You Know? There are two individuals in our congregation that could be called a badass and a tight ass. And I'll share part of their story, as written by their daughter, Jennifer. My mom led yoga classes twice weekly for me and my 4 friends via Zoom for a year during the pandemic. They got flustered, and she got flustered when my friends sent her a thank you gift for the holidays. My friends have nicknamed her Badass. As a young kid, my dad used to pay me 50 cents to shine his shoes. He wouldn't agree to a raise. So one day, I cleaned 1 shoe from each pair, demanding a raise. I think he fired me at that point because I don't remember shining his shoes after that. We're saying farewell to Mary Lee and Jerry Donnelly today, and we would like for you to come forth. We would like to honor you. We would like to have the opportunity to express what you have meant to our congregation for 14 years. Please come forward.
I'd like to take an opportunity for you to take a moment to think of the times that you have spent with Jerry and Mary Lee over the last 14 years. And I'm going to give you an opportunity to come up and speak to them if you would like to. And we'll ask you to come up on this side and kind of line up. As you are triggered by other people's stories, you will have more to think of.
However, I have a letter from our minister that I would like to read first.
Dear Mary Lee and Jerry, I hope so much to be present today to see you both and share the celebration of all the ways you two have contributed to the quality of this community and the overall well-being of UUCB. You each have your own strengths and gifts, and you show up to use them in so many ways that it would take way too long to share what I've experienced of you both in my time with this congregation. Mostly what I want to say is how much I've enjoyed your company and appreciate the way you interact with others as you go about the work and the play that is church life. From scrubbing floors to high-level financial leadership and program decisions, you both showed up time and time again with goodwill and humor. Mostly I worked with Mary Lee in her capacity as chair of Sunday services. Any of you who have served on that team know it can be ever-expanding responsibility. That's why she's leaving. The desire to offer a congregation a variety of high-quality, creative Sunday morning services week after week would be daunting under any circumstances, but now factoring all the different reasons that people are attending a new church. All congregations encounter challenges as people work through their different ideas and opinions. Working alongside of Mary Lee, I watched her bring the wisdom and grace needed to keep people focused on what was in the best interest of the church as a whole. As a congregation, we have been fortunate to have volunteers like Mary Lee and Jerry, who consistently made what was best for the church their first priority. I will miss you both very much and wish you all the best in your new adventures. With love, Reverend Alice.
So I want to thank you both. When I was at a point where I didn't have a car and I couldn't get the services, fortunately I was on your way, but I was very relieved to be driven by the tight ass with a wild leg foot. calm in the car. And I am also thinking of a wonderful tomato pie that you made, and I'm thinking of the movie nights that we shared with you, the White Russians that were very enjoyable, and just thank you for everything. You leave big shoes to be filled, but it gives us the strength that we need to stand up, and I am very hopeful for our future, and I appreciate all that you've done for this congregation. And I will personally miss you both.
I'm Rose, and I won this, I guess it was a raffle thing, and so there were a few of us going out fishing with Jerry. So there was myself, Jack Overton, Gary, this other gentleman that knew how to fish, and then Al, who owned the boat. So we go out, it's a little rough. Jack drops his line in, shoo, there's a big red snapper, brings it in, he gets sick, but anyway. So then we were going on. So I was like, man, I'm not catching any fish. Everybody else caught fish except for me. Then all of a sudden, I get this tug, and I'm like, yes, I got one. So what I pulled in was a mackerel. And if you can think about how big a mackerel is, well, mine was about this long. And so when we got back to the dock, we wanted to take a picture. And everybody lined up and had a fish, and I had one little mackerel. I was so proud. Jerry said, don't take a picture with that mackerel, I'll give you a fish. I thank him for letting me hide my mackerel, that I'm very proud of. But I will miss you guys, your laughter, your calm, and Mary Lee especially, because you really helped Nance a lot, and I thank you for that.
One of my great gifts is coordination, as you just saw, and the other is that I can worry better than almost anyone we know. I wanted to thank Jerry when I was physically in the office and something would break, something would happen to the church, and I would be very flustered about it, and Jerry would be very calm, and he would just handle it, and I appreciate that. Above and beyond everything that the two of you have done for us and kept us going, when it was a very difficult time, when I had to move from Pensacola back to Memphis, Tennessee, with part of my family, my heart was broken in many ways, and it was really difficult to leave here. And the worst part about it was leaving the church. And I was feeling very sorry for myself and how badly I would miss everyone when I received a card from Mary Lee. And it was one of the dearest things that anyone has ever done for me. It made me feel valued and loved and appreciated, and for a long time it was pinned to the wall. And I would take it out and read it a lot when I was very homesick. So in addition to being extremely hardworking and doing everything you can imagine for us, I just want to say, very big hearts. Thank you so much. We're going to miss you.
I'm going to do a little quiz here from Jennifer again. I don't know if you know what Jerry did in his prior life before he came here and was retired with us. I didn't. How many of you know what Jerry did most of his life? Okay, so we have 3 people, 4, out, maybe 5, okay? Out of what, 40 or 50 people. Jerry really didn't talk about it.
And I'm not having an opportunity to talk with him this week. But this is what Jennifer said. Dad took me on his motorcycle to J.C. Penney, which is where he worked, Sunday mornings before the store opened. Then we'd head to the library for what felt like hours. Of course, if you're a kid, you know what that means. The last stop was always the liquor store. It was my job not to drop the wine on the way home. Do you remember that? She does. Yeah.
Thank you. Doesn't seem like 14 years. And I think of a lot of things to say, but I think the contrast is interesting between Jerry and Mary Lee, in that we see her as Mary Lee is serious and organized and making things happen, kind of below eye level. You don't pick up on it too quickly, but you realize it's happening. Where Jerry gives you the feeling that, what, me care? I'm getting all okay. But I was the first mate on his boat for about 3 years, 4 years, something like that.
Almost.
And most of the time it was pretty clear sailing in the bay and occasionally out in the Gulf. But there were occasional serious events, and Jerry would, I learned to rely on his prognosis of the wind and waves and feel secure in what he was deciding to do, even though most of their sailing had been up on Lake Michigan, I think, and kind of not quite the Gulf type of situation. But, and as Sheriff mentioned and so forth, we know he's also kind of gets things done on the basic level, things that we need to have happen. So we're going to be looking for replacements. Be hard.
Thank you. This is an addition to that water story. Jennifer said, did you know that Mom and Dad met while working at J.C. Penney? One of their dates was Dad taking Mom water skiing. And if you don't know, Mom is not a fan of open water. Is this true?
No, water's not my friend.
So she wrote, I guess she really liked Dad.
I'm going to follow you because I'm the second mate on that boat. And I'm going to take a minute to tell a couple of boat stories, because they're stories you don't really know. So we moved down here from Wisconsin in about 2010. We started coming here late 2010. And so we've been friends for 12 years and became good friends with the Donnellys. And one day Jerry asked me if I could go sailing with him on his boat. And he has a 27-foot boat called the Amazon. And I went, and I didn't know anything about sailing. And he said, well, I and he would help teach you everything about sailing, which they did. And so what we do is we go out every Friday, and they were fantastic Fridays. And we set sail in the morning, listen to NPR, listen to a wrap up of the week, and discuss all the world's problems, and we primarily solve them our way. Then we have lunch out there, someplace out in the bay, which would include some beer. And then we'd sail back and listen to Science Friday, and we'd back and talk about the universe and all that stuff. And then we'd more up and have a beer or two, and then we'd go home. And we did this on Fridays. And depending on the wind, whichever way we sail, well, they talked about going on the Gulf with shoes at, but I always tried to get them to try it one time. Let's go out on the Gulf. Well, one day we had a good wind, got down to the pass, turned into the pass, got into the pass, and at that moment, the wind started shifting to the southeast, the waves picked up coming in the pass, we lost the push of the water out of the bay, and the boat stopped. Remember this? So water coming in, water going out, boat not moving. And so we probably all thought this is a problem.
It actually backed up.
Yeah, but so Jerry's a great captain, figured out how to turn that board around, and we were like an angle like that. Turned around the pass, got back in, and came home. So that was a thing I'll never ever forget in my life. We sort of thought we could sink. Another quick story was, we're out in the bay one day, and depending on the wind, the sailor has to tack. Instead of going a straight line, you tack across the bay in the water. And we were doing that. We're on the far side of the bay out by the island. And we had to come back towards Bio Chico. And during that time period, the U.S. Navy decided to come out and do a test of their pilots. They had a mock aircraft carrier, and they would parachute launch the pilots off the back with the wind, and then drop into the bay and go rescue them so these pilots could learn how to survive falling in the water. And Jerry sailed right straight through the training exercise. And we got some pretty straight, I'm really going to go through there. He said, well, wait, that's the way we got to go. It's the way the wind said to us. So we had some pretty strange lifts on that. And the third story was, we're out there one day, getting down and then up to about 6 knots, which is its top speed. That's a pretty fun speed. Your hair's blowing in the wind, and the sail and the jug are all full, and we're going along. And to see out of the distance coming this Coast Guard patrol boat. I don't mean the big one, it's one about the size of the sailboat, but it's a power boat, super power boat. And they kind of announced with their blowhorn that you don't have to drop sail or slow down, just keep going. And they powered right up alongside us, jumped out of the boat, 2 or 3 of them, got their sidearms on and everything else, and they're going to inspect the boat. And so they go down into the galley and come around and back and back up and says, well, I have to write you up a ticket. And I think the ticket was because they had a defective seal on the head, which is the toilet on the boat. And so that way, then they just got off the lift and just poured right off, and we never stopped sitting. And those are experiences which are just amazing experiences in life, and it's fantastic to have that happen. I bring this up because Jerry's a captain of a boat, but he also was the captain and steward of this congregation. What happens when I think of Jerry, another thought that comes up is the chief wine steward. You stew, wine stew. But he's also the steward and the captain of the charitable trust, and really led that part of this congregation very steadily for the years he did. And Mary Lee was also captain of this congregation with her leadership skills and how she tried to help everybody who was being leader. And she kept very, very, very steady, calm, always. And I know that because Jerry and I, as being friends, would also sometimes get into some pretty heated debates, discussions, but Mary Lee could always seem to calm that down and get us back to that time. Because we had some pretty heated talks about different stuff. And those are my remembrances of really good friends. But I think the congregation to them could give them what I would do to them as captains, and that is a salute. Thank you.
Just wanted to say that the name of the boat was Amateur. And you probably don't know, that's Irish for the idiot. And it was not meant to be the boat, the idiot, it was the captain of the boat.
I also wanted to salute both of you as well. I want to say, first off, thanks both of you, just as what I was saying, as far as your stewardship of this church for such a long time. I remember Mary Lee, you guys seeing you at so many protests, being out there at so many events, and that really meant a lot. And Jerry, first time I met Jerry, I'm pretty sure I met you at the bookstore first, and then maybe the next day, I saw Jerry at church, the guy from the bookstore. Jerry came in and just started out the bookstore, opened boats when we first opened it. And he got to Dostoevsky books, and I said, oh, cool. So we got to talk about the Russians for a little bit, literature and all that. So seeing him almost the next day over here, and then had these conversations. So for a while we talked about books, and among books we talked about, well, he asked me what kind of books we were reading in my classes. I teach at UF. What books we were teaching in the classes, and I ended up talking to him about Bukowski. And I said that, well, we're teaching Bukowski right now. Not that anybody's read Bukowski or not, but if you haven't, he's a pretty rough womanizer, has a really interesting story, good storyteller, but maybe not the best person in the world, but he has a little beard. And I asked Jerry if he wouldn't mind coming over to my class and pretending that he was Bukowski. So Jerry came in there and playing the full role. And my class was there and sort of meeting in person. So Jerry came into the class and had a little glass of something that looked like some kind of whiskey in the glass, and kept pouring a little bit back into it. And sitting in the back of the class, and as we get to the point after we called the roll and all this, said, I have a special guest for our class today. I know we just read Bukowski, and I could see this look on about half of the audience's face before we were talking about that, about the book, and either wanted to talk about the book or wanted to talk about, like, oh, this guy seems like such a jerk. And then back to the back of the class. I said, Bukowski actually has joined us right now. He's in the class with us. Bukowski's been dead for like about 15 years, so they're all 19 years old. So I'm probably going to read the book, to be honest. But they're looking, and all of a sudden everybody looks to the back of the room, and then there's Jerry, both of his class. It's great. And then I let the guy just sort of out another minute so I could see everybody's eyes in the room, like, and then we started talking a little bit more, and then I said, actually, that's not right there. And then Jerry went back, but then afterwards, Jerry said, oh, you should have let it go for just a little bit longer. I regretted that afterwards, but unfortunately, the campus police came up right afterwards and asked about the drinking in the class, and Jerry was arrested. So that's the end of the story. That was our subject, but that was my did you know? But seriously, thank you both for everything.
I went yesterday, or a couple days ago, I can't remember what it was now. I went to see Jerry and Mary Lee. This is a typical story for Jerry and Mary Lee and what they have done for this congregation. I understand that they visited about 14 years ago, and they came to a service, and the next service they started volunteering. And they have volunteered solidly ever since. And there are many parts of the congregation that they have participated in, and I've heard, and I have experienced also, and each of you, Mary Lee's subtle way of getting things done that you don't know behind the scenes. In fact, this service, yesterday I called and said, okay, Mary Lee, how do I do this and how do I do that? Because I didn't know what to do with those things, and Mary Lee had a solution. But when I went to visit, and I had said, I'll be glad to help pack for you. I went to their house to pack, and she called and said, Nancy, bring your cooler. And I thought, oh, you need my cooler. Okay, great. Obviously, they're getting rid of the refrigerator and they need my cooler. And she said, no, actually, I need to unload my freezer in your cooler so you can take the food home. And I went, oh, wonderful. That'd be great. So I went out, took my cooler, and got there, and he's sitting in a chair that isn't full of boxes, and it didn't have anything in it. But at least they could sit in these chairs, and you look around the house, and it looks like a house that's packed, of course. And we've all been there. And she said, well, really? She said, we're in pretty good shape. Why don't we go out for lunch? So we did. We went out for lunch. And we came back, and we were kind of walking around to see what, could be done. And really, she said, everything's done. And I looked at something. She goes, oh, and it was a desert rose. She said, I can't take that with me. Would you like to have that? And I said, oh, I'd love to have that. And And so she said, oh, there's some basil in the back. Would you like to have that? And I said, oh, yeah, the basil's beautiful, it's huge. And we started talking about how to use the basil. So I went to help pack, and instead I left with food, with presents, and with their presents that I never, ever expect, but always receive from them. Thank you. Jerry, Brady. Sorry, Maddie. I want to introduce our resident artist, Maddie. I asked Maddie to come up and use this board and draw things about what she heard that the Donnellys have done for us and the stories that you've heard. So I'm hoping she will pull those from her memory, because I would like for them to take this piece of paper with them to remind them of the stories of our church. Okay, thanks, Maddie. She told me to let her know when I was ready for her. And here, we're ready for you, Maddie. Thank you. Are you just supporting your daughter, or would you like to talk?
I have something to share.
Right?
I do support.
Yes, you do.
So I have a couple of kind of short stories, and I think I'll end with what I think is probably the funniest one. I don't remember now who it was that came up early on and talked about the parties at the clubhouse, but that's definitely one incredible memory we would bid on the parties and the dinners or whatever at the clubhouse. We do that during the auction, and we did it many times. We saw Midnight in Paris, we saw a bunch of other films, but the Big Lebowski was, of course, the one that I remember the most. And Jerry comes out. Have you ever seen the film where he's wearing the bathrobe and drinking the White Russian and all that? So that was just very memorable. Just the fun and the enthusiasm and just pitching in. I mean, I could go through in my mind so many things about the church, and there's hardly a single one that doesn't feature one or both of them, and not necessarily in a leadership role, but definitely being there. And also, one of the things that has kept me and continues to keep me in this church is the multi-generational aspect, and like my kids growing up with people of all ages and different backgrounds, and the Donnellys have always, supported that and been a part of that, have been such big supporters of our children, to the point of buying cookies and buying everything, anytime we were doing a fundraiser or anything like that. And even Jerry broke his tooth on one Girl Scout cookie that he ate out of the freezer. So, we've had that bonding experience as well. One of and I felt terrible, and I was like, we shouldn't eat the frozen cookies, they're too hard. So that never happened again. But one of the circle dinners, I picked up Hannah Lord, I think it was Hedwig and Jan Purview, and we went over there with the Rylands, I believe, and it was Kentucky Derby, and they had a whole Kentucky Derby themed thing, and bought us even bet on the horses, and gave us all a ticket to see if we could win, depending on which horse won the race. And I never cared or did anything having to do with the Kentucky Derby, so that was a very unique experience. But the one that really kind of epitomizes for me the Donnellys and what they've meant to me and to us and our family is not just what they do within the church, but their friendship and their involvement and their humor and their personality. So have you ever heard of somebody named Wilder Diamond and Beckett King? I don't even know if you remember the meanings of those names, but several years ago we had planned something we used to call Friday Night Live, where we have different events on Fridays. And I hosted an intergenerational mystery event, mystery dinner kind of thing. And so it was little kids, anybody could come, and everyone was assigned a character and certain attributes that went with that character. And they were secretly assigned. I think it was Beckett King, and Wilder Diamond was Mary Lee, and she worked at a fast food restaurant and fidgeted all the time. And Beckett King was a scorekeeper at the local sportsplex or whatever, and they came in full costume, referee shirt and apron or whatever it was, and played along, and it was just such a fun event, and just their enthusiasm of pitching in always, no matter what the task was, I can't, I can't say enough about that and how much it has meant to us and our family, your friendship, your support, your leadership, your personality, your enthusiasm. It means so much, and we're definitely going to miss you, so thank you so much.
I've had conversations with Mary Lee about, specifically about moving, and my own feelings of loss with her and around their family. But at the same time, Mary Lee has said, it's really hard to move. It's really hard to leave. And that they had kind of rooted themselves here. But I want you to know a little bit more from Jennifer about their family. My parents made time and saved money to take us on vacation every summer. We drove to Lorraine, Alabama, which is where they live now, to see my grandparents, my mom's parents, and Florida to see the Donnelly grandparents. So actually, the Donnellys have long history in this area, which I sure do know. It couldn't have been easy with two kids in the back seat bickering the whole way. Jennifer has a sister named Stacy, and they each have one daughter. In case you wanted to know. Something else about Mary Lee. My mom went to night school while working full-time to get her bachelor's degree, holding index cards and reciting recitations as she made dinner. After working all day, she's so dedicated that she got it when she decides to do something. And we have received that gift here at UCB with both of them. And this is a moving story, which I think is really priceless. When I was prepared to move out on my own, my mom was helping me figure out what I would need for my apartment. Now this sounds exactly like Mary Lee. And she suggested that we should go to the store to buy a few staple items. I couldn't figure out why I needed staples at all. I finally had to ask, and she laughed so hard. I was not much of a cook in those days. And would either of you like to say something? We'd like to hear from you. Please.
I'm not sure I'll be able to say much of anything without crying. And I know you're all hungry for something because it smells wonderful. But this, I'm personally, I'm just overwhelmed. It's wonderful to see you all, and we both will miss you so much. I don't know that there really will be a replacement UU Church that we will feel as comfortable here as in whatever new thing that we end up doing. But thank you. I just don't have anything.
I'm not going to cry. Goodbye. I love all of you. And I've never said that. And I probably don't really mean it, but I am going to miss everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate the stories that you shared, and I appreciate Mary Lee and Jerry being such good sports to do this. This is not an easy thing to receive, and I really appreciate you receiving it.
Can we leave now?
You may step down if you would like. Don't leave. And we have a closing words, which are actually the blessing. And Laura Keith King's going to lead that.
With the choir.
I'm sorry?
With the choir. Okay. No, wait, a little lower. Thank you for this food, this glorious, glorious food. start, okay? And we come in when they get to and the vegetables mineral. Okay.
Thank you
For this food,
this glorious, glorious food. And thank you for this delicious food, this glorious, glorious gospel. And thank you for this vegetables, this glorious gospel. And thank you for this delicious food, this glorious, glorious gospel.
and with that blessing, we will extinguish our chalice, and we will form, the tables are set up for 2 lines starting up here, and you can go both sides. We have, drinks in the back. And welcome to our picnic.